Hey everybody, it's Daphne here at Lure Entertainment. We are sitting down with Patrick McAleenan, right? Did I say it right, Doug? Names, man, I'm telling you. Okay. This is our Let's Get Pumped segment, and we are going to sit here and drill Patrick with questions.
Yeah, hit.
Tell us, tell us a little bit about yourself, Patrick.
I grew up in Southern California for the most part. I was actually born in New Jersey, but we moved across the country to Colorado, then Texas, then California. So I was in California in the San Fernando Valley by the time I was 3 or 4. So I grew up out in the valley, where Valley girls come from. But my dad was a horse trainer, so we had a horse property, like a couple acres with horses. So I kind of grew up on a ranch, but a stone's throw from the beach and Hollywood and stuff. So it was kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
A little bit of country, a little bit of city.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was gonna say you don't strike me as a Jersey boy.
No, yeah, our family's not really from there, but for some reason we were living there at the time. I think it was so we could be close to my grandparents. My parents had just been married a few years and they didn't have a lot of money, so it was convenient to have the grandparents close by. But yeah, my family's not from New Jersey, but we just ended up there for a while.
Okay. Yeah. See, I was born in Kentucky, but I was raised in Las Vegas. So it
Huh.
was more like being from Las Vegas than Kentucky, you know.
Yeah.
And I've lived everywhere. I mean, everywhere. My stepdad, he was with the railroad, so we were all over the place when I was younger. And then that kind of fell apart, and then I've just been on my own. I lived here and everywhere. But I tell you what, Utah, I stayed there for a month and a half, 2 months, I think it was maybe. And that place, there's nothing there but farms. There really isn't. I didn't see anything.
Well, there's one huge city. I mean, Salt Lake City is massive, but outside of that, it's yeah, there's a lot of open country out there. A lot of it's beautiful. I really like Utah, like the landscape and stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, I
So do
just
you
worked I just worked on a couple jobs out there. I worked on a streaming comedy series called Dusty Bluffs. Did a small part on that show. That was hilarious. And worked on a feature for a few days out there. Um, Kind of out beyond Salt Lake City. We were out like where there was an old abandoned mine out in the mountains and stuff. It was pretty cool.
yeah.
But yeah, Utah is kind of wild. Most of it's, wide
Wild.
open. Yeah.
Where's this wildness that you speak of?
Well, I mean, wild in the sense of the just open country. There's just not a lot of people out there. Ranches, farms,
Yeah.
and just but a lot of great like stuff to see, like the national parks and just the landscape is really cool in Utah, I think. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So you got a thing about horses because I've got one hell of a story for you in a minute. I'm gonna let you speak about that one.
Everybody's got their horse story.
Oh,
Yeah. I have one quick question for you. This is a technical question. I have a message on my screen that says this
I can't
meeting is.
see it. I
I'm
can't
sorry.
I can't see it.
Oh, okay. Well, I can see it. Can I get rid of it? Is there a way for me? Because I
Yeah,
can't see
you should
you.
just be able to slide it. That's what I do. I'm always just sliding stuff. I was
Oh, I
wondering
see it.
the same thing too.
Well, there you are. Woohoo!
When
That's
things
much better.
oh my goodness. Go ahead with your story now that we fixed the technical issues going on.
You're much better to look at than the stupid sign up there.
Well,
So,
thank
what was the next question?
horses. Your
Horses.
yeah.
Yeah. My dad actually grew up, he was born in Manhattan, in New York, actually born into a very wealthy Irish family in New York City. But a few months after he was born, his grandfather fell off the roof, landed on his head, and died.
Oh my
And the
God.
family fortune basically went to his brothers. So we were no longer he was no longer wealthy after his first 3 months of life. But he grew up in New York and Connecticut around there, but he loved horses and the West, wanted to be a cowboy, and started reading all these books about cowboys and stuff and got really into it. Got his first horse when he was like 14, kept it on a ranch, somewhere outside because he lived in the suburbs, but that was his dream to be a cowboy. So he worked with horses most of his life from that point forward, and finally got to a place where he became a trainer. He worked on dude ranches and then ended up working under other trainers who were his mentors, and learned a lot from them. Um, and then eventually went into business for himself. He was basically a self-employed horse trainer for the rest of his life until he passed away a couple of years ago. He was almost 94, and he rode for the last time just a few weeks before he died. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
And
Sorry
he
about
was he was an amazing dude, really very fit, always into fitness. He would boxed and wrestled and played football, and just a very physical guy, and also very well read. He was super smart, had a couple degrees, and just kind of a man of many talents. Uh, but so I grew up with that. He was almost like having a superhero for a dad. But we had horses on our property all the time, so we rode, um, took care of the horses. That was part of our life, was cleaning up after them, feeding them, and all that type stuff. We'd have to feed the horses and everything before we went to school. So it was all just part of our life.
Did you ever have any close calls with those horses?
Gosh, I've been bucked off a few times. Never had anything that was life threatening as far as I can remember, but did get bucked off a few times. My brother, actually, when I was a toddler, my dad, we were living in Colorado. My dad was working out in the field somewhere, and my older brother was kind of taking care of me. I was just a toddler in a snowsuit, and there was a pony near where we were. So my brother thought it'd be a good idea to put me on the pony. And my dad was like, 50 yards away or something. But my brother picked me up and started putting me on the pony, and my dad saw him doing it, and he yelled, "Bill, don't, get him off the pony," or whatever. So Bill got scared and ran towards the pony to grab me, spooked the pony, and the pony pony just took off running with me on his back. So I was just bouncing up and down, going up 90 miles an hour, and finally fell off. Meanwhile, my dad's sprinting to try to catch this pony and thinking, I'm going to break my neck and he's going to have a dead son laying there in the field.
Oh my
But he said he finally caught up to me. I'm just laying there in the snow and just looking up at him with a smile on my face. So that was probably uh,
God.
my closest call.
I had one, and I'll tell you, this takes me back to Utah when my sister was there with her husband. I went there to stay for the summer, and my brother was with me, my younger brother, and I think I was 12. Yeah, I think I was 12, and we went walking around because there's nothing to do, nothing. And these people, they were like, "Well, you can come over, go see the horses, whatever. You train them or run them anyway, exercise them." And I'm like, "Okay." So one day we both decided to walk over there. We were bored, so we walk over and we go in the field. Well, there's 200 horses in the field. Some of them are wild. We decide we're going to walk out into the field. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a very smart decision. So we get out there and these horses just start all coming towards us and surrounding us. And I'm like, "Oh shit, something's about to happen." And no sooner than I said that, I told my brother, I was like, "Run." So we darted across that field, he's falling behind me. I don't even care, I'm just, I don't care. Bye, and
Trying to save your life.
huh?
Just trying to save your life.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was not concerned about him. Well, they have the the gates. You know how they have the openings this big and the horse gates? There's
Yeah.
no. I get to the gate. He gets back up and he's running. I tell you what, I dove straight through that gate. He's crying. Are you gonna? Hell no! Run, jump. That's all I gotta say because I am not going back in there with 200 horses and get killed. No, thank you. So finally, he caught up and went through the gate too, man. He cussed me out the whole way back. I'm just like, I don't even care. We'll do that again. But that
They,
was
knowing horses, they probably thought you had food. That's usually people, to horses, people mean food. And if you go out into a pasture with a bunch of horses, they'll come to you because
oh,
they're looking for oats. Yeah. But
they
they can get aggressive and they can be dangerous, but most of the time they're looking for food or attention or whatever. But that's
did.
pretty fun.
It's a fun story to tell. I mean, I don't really tell too many stories, about things that have happened to me, but Utah, yeah, that was a big reminder, and especially the horses, that's just, I don't know, it was funny to think about. But you've been on shows like Modern Family and all that. Which that was like your favorite one to be on out of all those? I'm gonna jump into your career now.
Let's see. Favorite one to be on. Modern Family was really cool. That was actually kind of a fluke, and I've got a few flukes in my background. Well, when I was out in LA and I was, trying to, I had an agent trying to book roles out there, but I was averaging. There's so many actors out there. You're like a tiny fish in a massive swimming pool, and I didn't have that unique look at the time. There are 100,000 other guys that look like me and were just as good as an actor or whatever. So it was hard to get any traction. But so to fill in the blanks, I was only getting a couple auditions a year. It's hard to get a career going if you only got 2 auditions, and most likely you're not going to book those. You have to have 100 auditions before you book a couple, type of thing. It's a numbers game. So I started working background as an extra just to make money in between. And my agents kept telling me, don't work background, don't work background. If they find out you're working background, they'll never hire you as an actor, which I think is a bunch of crap.
Bullshit. That makes me so mad when people say that they'll never be hired if they've worked back. That's how you get hired, I think.
Most major actors used to be background. They worked as extras in the beginning. Kevin Costner, Alec Baldwin, Meryl Streep, everybody. They all worked as extras. That probably didn't get them into the business, but they were on set. They learned a lot, got used to just being on set and how movies are made and so forth. So I started working background, and with the Modern Family thing, I was basically hired as an extra. And there was a scene where Phil goes to visit his daughter at college. She's, I think, rushing, trying to get into a sorority or something. But they have a big fraternity party, and I was just one of the extras at the party. So I showed up there, this massive, they're all the students that were in this frat house for UCLA, plus they had all the extras. So there are tons of people there. And at one point, I'm just hanging out with all the extras, and one of the ADs came down and he said, does anybody know where so-and-so is? He was supposed to play the doctor, Phil's doctor or whatever. And everybody's shaking their head no. And I just told the guy, I said, well, I don't know who he is, but I said, I'm glad to do it if you need somebody or whatever. And he's like, you know what? That's a good idea. Come with me. So he brought me to the first AD. And first AD was this Irish guy. I can't remember his name now. Jimmy, I think. But I'd worked with him like a week before on another TV show. And the PA brought me to Jimmy and said, I couldn't find the actor, but this guy, Pat said he'd be willing to do it. And he said, recognized me. He's like, oh yeah, Patrick, he'd be good. He's not a fucking idiot, you know, great Irish accent. So they threw me in there and they were talking about giving me a line or something, but then eventually they just left it without any lines. But it's basically Phil is talking to this young guy who's talking to his daughter, and he's he thinks he's trying to get in bed with his daughter, so he's mad, and he's like, "Hey, my dad's your doctor. He's right over there." And then they point the camera at me, and I'm standing there with my wife, and we wave to Phil and stuff. And I got so many phone calls from friends and stuff. They're like, "Was that you on Modern Family?" Like, yeah, that was me. So that was just a fun little featured bit that I got to do, just kind of random accident,
It
But it
happened.
was fun. I love that show, so it was great to be on there.
Sophia, did you get to see her or meet her? Sophia?
I didn't get to talk to her. I met Phil, or I can't think of the actor's name right now, but I met him just briefly. We just shook hands, but he was very like focused on what he was doing, so there wasn't much conversation or anything. So didn't get to hobnob with the actors much.
Sophia's very pretty, especially for her age. I mean, she's pretty. And then every time I think of the guy that plays her husband, I cannot remember his name. I always think
Ty Burrell. Ty Burrell is
is that
the.
his
Oh
name?
no, you're thinking of
Guy,
yeah,
Al Bundy. He was
yeah.
in Married with Children. Oh my God, what is this? It's
Oh,
gonna drive me crazy because I can't think of his damn name.
yeah. Al. He played Al Bundy. Think
Y'all
of it.
remember that from back in
Anyway,
the
he's a
yeah.
great actor, and I found that now I'm 62, and my recall is not as good as it used to be. It's just a bummer. Just can't think of people's names as good as they used to.
I know faces, not names. I mean, somebody could tell me their name a couple times, and after I see them a couple times, then it'll register. But if it's in passing or somebody I probably spoke to somewhere else and they tell me their name, I'm gonna remember their face before I do their name.
Yeah,
I just talk to so many people, even when I'm not doing this or even in the industry, I'm just sociable. So it's just like you could tell me your name all day long. I'm probably not going to remember it, but all right. It's all right.
Ed, Ed O'Neill.
That's his name. Did you look it up? I thought you did.
Yeah, I
That's funny.
hate it when I can't think of it, but
So what's the biggest movie you've done?
let's see, biggest movie. Well, as an extra, I was in all kinds of stuff, but I haven't done any like major movies, had a part in a major movie. Most of them have just been independent, lower budget stuff. Just last year, it's not even out yet. I did one called Let Me Sleep. It's a comedy horror movie that we shot in Colorado Springs. A company called Vindicator Media did that. And I booked the part of the town sheriff, which was a fun part. Sheriff's kind of a jerk, kind of a small town, throws his weight around, kind of a conservative,
So he's an
uh,
asshole.
yeah, but he's also kind of funny and kind of a badass. So it was a fun role to play. It was funny because when I went in for the interview, the audition, I'd sent him a tape already, and they brought me in, drove down to Colorado Springs for the second audition, and did the audition, and I was supposed to be kind of intimidating and working with the main character for the movie. I was supposed to make him nervous, so I did my best at that. And the very last take we took, he's actually supposed to walk by me, and I like totally shoulder checked him, just stepped into him, almost knocked him over.
Wow.
And they seemed to think the audition went well. I booked a part, and then when I actually worked with that guy, he told me, he said, "Man, you scared me when we did the audition, he's like, you were like scared. I was a little intimidated. So he's kind of surprised to find that I was just acting, it's just a normal guy, but I could play mean. So it was a fun role. And I got to do some of my own stunts, and that was one of the funnest parts because there's one part where I'm attacked. I can't really give away too much about the movie, but I get attacked and basically thrown into a wall at one point. And the first time we shot the scene, they didn't quite get the camera angles right, or something was off. So we were going to do it again, and I realized I was like, I just kind of went through the motions, and I wasn't really in my head. I wasn't thinking of where I was in the scene, that I'm fighting for my life in the scene. So for the second take, I had to crouch down and basically throw myself against a wall. And all you see on camera is me flying into the wall. So I'm crouched down close to the floor, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm fighting for my life. I'm scared to death. And they said, action. I threw myself backwards into that wall, and I broke the drywall. I actually went into the wall a little bit. And it didn't even hurt. And I jump up with this shotgun and say my line and stuff. And then when the scene ended, one guy like looked over the camera and he goes, I was like John Wick, man. That was cool.
There's some John Wick shit right there, man.
But I had to apologize for breaking the wall.
Was it somebody's house?
What's that?
Where did they film? Well, I mean, I know you can't really say too much about it, but was it actually in somebody's house? Maybe they rented that location, or was it built?
It was a low budget film, so it was a friend's house, a friend of the director or whatever. So I even offered, I said, I'll pay for the drywall or whatever. And they said, no, that's cool, man. Yeah. We're just glad they got the second take. Okay. So anyway, that one's supposed to come out. Actually, it was supposed to come out last year, but I think they've had budget issues with special effects and stuff. It costs a lot of money for that stuff. So
Oh, yeah, it's not cheap.
yeah.
Definitely not at all. So, I
still,
mean,
still waiting for that one to come out.
horror movies, I love the horror movies because they are fun to do. I mean, it's fun. You're dealing with really, really cool makeup, then you've got blood and all this other stuff. And it's so funny when some people think, like, you go to the theaters, you watch these horror movies, and then you've got people screaming, and then they'll have nightmares. Me, I'm not one of them people. I would, they'd be like, I don't know if you've ever seen Malibu's Most Wanted with Jamie Kennedy. You ever seen that movie where he's watching and he's like, bitch, run, like that? He gonna kill you. That's the kind of stuff that cracks me up when I'm out watching it somewhere else and people are doing it. I'm like, oh my God.
It should be so people are talking to the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun and let me sleep. It was a comedy and a horror, which really appealed to me because I'm not a huge horror movie fan. I'm at the point where most of the horror movies, they don't really scare me. So I don't get that much out of it. But if it's funny and creatively done, then it's much better. And the writing was good. It was a good, funny, weird film. So I was really attracted to it. And great crew. They're just super nice people, and it was a lot of fun. And
that goes on behind scenes. I mean, crews, yeah, you've got some crews, they'll act pissed off, but what people don't realize is they're dealing with a lot, and there's so much time, and when you've got money on the line, you got to go. It's like that, there's no time to waste. So people mistake some of them people when they're like, oh, that person's pissed, this, that, you know what I mean? But in
Yeah.
reality, they're just trying to get the shit done because they're probably wore out, you know. A lot of people don't get that, you know, because the shit is tiring. It's tiring. This industry is tiring.
Oh, and they end up working a lot of long hours, and of course they plan for that, but then it always goes beyond that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even the pros, when I was working background in Hollywood a lot, Monday you always start out normal and you're basically on schedule Monday morning. By the time you get to Friday, you're going until the sun comes up on Saturday morning, usually, if you're shooting a night scene or whatever. They call it Fratter Day
Yeah.
because you get behind during the week. Stuff happens and you get behind, but they just have to keep going because you got to get it done. Got a schedule.
So have you been to any stunt training? Have you taken any stunt training?
The only I haven't done any stunt training per se, but I have been hired just because of my riding ability. I've just been hired to do some riding in a couple films, but that's about it so far. But I'm, really physical guy, work out all the time, stay in good shape. So capable of doing minor stunts, but I never took any real training.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm
Have you
on the job training where I, smash into walls and stuff. But
found it?
uh, I would do it, yeah, for a role or something, but that's not really my focus. That was never really my dream, to be a stuntman. And especially at 62, uh, I don't want to start breaking myself even more. But I've got a bad back and bad shoulders and stuff, so I don't want to bang myself up too much. But I would do minor stunts, but nothing like the level of like Tom Cruise.
Tell you what, man, I've got serious respect for Tom Cruise and those stunts he does because
Oh,
it looks so fun, and it's dangerous, but I mean, it just looks so fun. I guess it's because I'm one of those people where I'll do some crazy shit. I don't care. I'm down. I'm down for anything. You know what I mean? But he does all of his stunts. And I guess there was something I heard. There was a movie that he did. I don't know what it is. I really couldn't tell you what it is. Where I guess the director didn't want him to do his own stunts. I don't know if that actually, like, if he didn't do them or not, or if he just said, screw it, I'm doing them anyway.
yeah,
I hear that about Tom. And the things he does, it looks so much fun.
it does. And personally, I think he's gotten to a point in his career where he's done so many big films, and I don't know. At that point in his career, I think doing the acting thing and just having a good performance or whatever probably isn't that big of a draw for him. So
Yeah.
he's doing movies where he gets to do incredible stunts, which is probably super fun for him. That's probably where he gets a lot of enjoyment out of making movies now, because he's pretty much done everything else. I mean, massive star, he's a great actor.
He
Uh,
flies jets.
what's that?
Flies jets.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a pilot.
Yeah.
Guys, he does all kinds of stuff, and he's just kind of an amazing dude. But I feel like he does movies on purpose so that he will be able to do these crazy stunts because it's fun.
Oh yeah.
Makes it, yeah,
What better reason to do it? I mean, that's what a lot of people don't understand in this industry. I mean, not in our industry, but looking into the industry. They're like, "Oh yeah, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, blah 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 blah." But they don't understand, like, people that are in this industry, they do it because one, they love it, The true people, yeah, there are people out there that are just all about getting famous, but it's fun, you know. There's always something to learn. And it just kills me that the other people don't get it. It's a passion for people
yeah,
versus, as far as the fame and all that bullshit, it's just having fun on a day to day, doing different shit every day, you know, and they don't get it. They're all about TikTok and I'm going to be a TikTok star or whatever. So they're like, whatever. But
I,
once you get into this industry, well, you can either love it or hate it, you
yeah,
know, but if you have a lot of fun doing it, then just makes sense, you know.
yeah,
Love, don't go to the same 9 to 5 every day that you know you're gonna friggin' hate, you know. If you're
yeah,
gonna do it, you got to do it. You got to do it right, you know. That's what I said. Tom Cruise got the right idea.
yeah. I admire him. He was so focused and so driven, and of course, became a huge star because of it. I think it was his drive and his focus that got him where he is today. So hats off to that guy, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you
I,
got
I wish I kind of wish that I'd had a little bit more of that drive and that focus that he had, because in my career, I started like in the early 80s, mid 80s. I got my first agent, got screen tested for a soap opera, almost got the lead in a small film. They ended up giving me a part in it, but they were down to two people. It was me and this other guy, and he had been in one other movie before where he played a small part. He was like Gene Hackman's daughter's boyfriend or something. So they're like, well, he's been in a movie before, so we're going to give him the role. So I didn't get it. But I was kind of close, to like a lead role first
so they gave
year.
them because of experience of one film versus
Yeah.
taking a chance on somebody else who could have potentially been better.
Yeah. And, who knows? I mean, that's what they told me. And that's kind of what the situation was. I knew it was down to the two of us at that point. Um, but they were really cool. They were like, we really like you. We want to give you a cool part in the show. So they wrote a part in. It was a kind of a B movie about Hollywood and the dangers of, the drugs, the sex business, and all that stuff. Young people going there wanting to be stars, and then they're out on the streets and dealing drugs and stuff like that.
That's
So,
daily
but
life. It is. It's that's what irritates me about, the people. I'm not saying people on the outside because, it's when people look in or when they are in, they're looking and it's sex, drugs, rock and roll, this and that. Well, you know what? It's like that in real life versus even if it is in Hollywood, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference because it's everywhere. So why
yeah,
be a hypocrite towards certain people because they're on screens versus the real people that are out there in the world? Because guess what? We're all still people. That's just a job, the drug, the rock, all that, that's what pisses me off about some people's opinions when they knock people in movies or they knock, this celebrity, this star, this person, versus hello, it doesn't matter. It's the same shit. All they're doing is a job. This is a job, it's just a fun job, but it's a job. They're still a person. It don't matter. I've had it both ways from being out of the industry and being in the industry,
yeah,
and that's what makes me mad about certain people when they want to sit there and play the hypocrite, you know,
yeah.
just like shut the fuck up, you know, seriously, shut up. That gets on my nerves so bad. I just can't stand that.
Yeah. So that was my first role in a film. It was a feature. It was called Red Nights, and I don't even know if you can find it like streaming or anything like that. It was a pretty low budget movie, but so they wrote a scene for me, and it was supposed to be right in the beginning of the film, and it was like a minute long speech, and it was right on Sunset Boulevard, and I was like a minor drug dealer uh, who was begging this hitman slash drug dealer guy to give me more time to give him his money back, and he doesn't say anything, and he just kind of ends up driving off. And then it shows me like walking down an alley in Hollywood, and then the car pulls in behind me and basically starts coming up, he's going to run over me. So I had to run down this alley, and we shot that thing, and I don't know how many times I had to run down that alley, but it was I think it was totally illegal the way they did it, because they just put a cameraman in the back of another car, and I would run towards him, and the guy driving the car behind me was just the actor. He wasn't a stunt man or stunt driver or anything. And so they tell me run as fast as you can, and that car, I could hear it like right behind me. If I'd have stumbled or something, he would have run right over me. But but it was really cool. I mean, it was super exciting. But by the end of the takes, man, my legs were so like tired and pumped up. I could barely walk because I had to run so many times down this.
This is so much fun.
Yeah. Then they show me dead in the alley with blood all over me and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Oh my God, that's funny as hell. You're
So
like, that's fun. I'm running down.
I was like, I should probably call somebody and tell them that this is not right, but I'm having too much fun. I didn't want to, and
Yeah.
that it was so long ago now.
It was lenient back then.
Yeah. Nobody was watching, I don't think so. But it was fun.
Oh my God. So what do you have anything coming up?
Yeah. Well, I've got actually roles. I've got things that I've already shot. There was the Let Me Sleep film that I did last year, which should be out sometime this year. And then I just finished, I went out to Utah and shot it's a comedy show called Dusty Bluffs. And it's this weird offbeat comedy that these two guys created. And I just had a blast. I was only on set for one day. They hired me to play the part of a local hero. I'm like a retired bull rider, cowboy guy. And they said as soon as they saw my audition, I auditioned for a different part. They said as soon as they saw it, they're like, this guy has to play Heck Hellas, the town hero. So they booked me for that. And but it was just fun to, hung out kind of on set all day and watched how they were working, and their brand of comedy. It's weird. It's kind of got like almost a Napoleon Dynamite feel to it.
Oh my God, vote for Pedro. That shit, that was so funny. You know, he only got paid $1,000 to do that movie.
Really?
I swear.
Wow.
$1,000. Well, that's what I heard anyway, and I know that the source would have been correct, but if he only made, got paid $1,000 for that kind of sucks, because
But it gave him a
that thing's
career.
blown up pretty damn big.
Yeah, it really launched him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck. You would think they'd be nice enough to give him a piece of the back end or something, but who knows? But yeah, it had this offbeat, kind of awkward comedy feel to it. And the two guys that made it were just hilarious. And I'd never met them before or anything. They're pretty young. They're like in their 30s or maybe early 40s or whatever. Yeah, that's young to me anyway. So, but I didn't know them, and I'm kind of a quiet, fairly shy guy if I don't know people or whatever. So we went to lunch. We broke for lunch, and I went and sat just at one of the picnic tables out there. And the Jer, well, the guy who's the director, is like, Pat, what are you doing way over there? He's like, come over and sit with us. And I came, sat down with him, and they peppered me with all these questions about, how did I get in the business and what am I doing? And, they're like, oh, you're awesome, man. We want to do another season and we'll have you back next year and stuff. So that was really cool.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It turned into a full role, if they're
Yeah.
bringing you.
Hopefully they get picked up and we get to do a second season. That'd be cool. And I really enjoyed them and their weird offbeat sense of humor. And then right after that, I had another film. It's based on a true story, and I'm not sure how much I can say about the plot or whatever, but it's basically based on a true story about a kid that was lost in an abandoned mine for like 5 days. And the story's, it's kind of inspiring and touching story about trying to find this kid and the people that eventually rescued him. But it's a very cool story.
Kind of reminds me of when the little girl Jessica was in the well.
Yeah, yeah.
You remember that years ago? That was years ago, where that little baby got stuck.
And I kind of vaguely remembered this story, but then when I started reading up on it, when I was going for the part, going to do the audition, I started reading up on it. I'm like, wow, this is an incredible story. I didn't remember that much detail about it. So it was really cool. But I spent like 4 days, 4 or 5 days filming out there. Um, and I live in Colorado and was shooting in Utah where I'm working as a local. So I had to drive out there, pay for my own hotel, do the part, and drive back. So it would be like 1,000 miles of driving, basically.
I'm trying.
And one night hotel, and there were days when I didn't have any lines. So I'd drive 500 miles, appear on camera, looking at somebody or whatever, and then get back in my car and drive 500 miles home.
The things that people do when they're getting into the industry is that's dedication right there for anybody to actually do that, just to drive, because I've done it starting
Yeah.
out. I've driven, oh my God, far. And, it's what you got to do, though. It's the way this industry is, because if people don't see that you're dedicated or, wanting to actually make it a career, they don't want people who are going to waste their time. And
Right.
like that, who go through those links to make it to their destination, knowing that they're not going to get a damn thing for it, yeah, that's somebody who's dedicated. That's somebody you definitely want to keep on your team, especially if they're doing a good job on the set.
Yeah. And that was a concern when I first approached my agency out there. Since I live in Colorado and there's almost no union work in Colorado. It's almost all non-union, and we get occasionally a commercial or a feature will come out here, usually like a Hallmark Christmas type movie, one or two a year, and maybe a commercial or two.
Now in Arizona, because there's, with the tax incentives going there's a lot of work going there too.
To where?
New Mexico and Arizona.
Yeah. So I started branching out and I got an agent in New Mexico because they have a lot of work there, and Utah, Salt Lake City's booming. They got a lot of stuff out there. So in order to get enough auditions and potential for roles, I had to branch out to those two markets. And they're about the same distance away. Albuquerque and Salt Lake City are 7 to 8 hours away. So
Yeah.
it's feasible. And especially if it's a SAG role, then it's worth it to make the trip. But that was a concern. They were like, well, you're so far away. Will you show up? That kind of thing. But now I've proven myself.
Show up,
Show up.
People like us, we were the ones who did show up, while the people that lived a mile up the street couldn't even make it. That's the way I feel.
Hopefully, and I wanted to get established out in different markets and stuff and get them, get in front of these casting directors. Because like the Utah, Jeff Johnson out in Utah casts like Yellowstone, Kevin Costner's Big Western Horizon and stuff like that. So it's good to get on their radars and let them know that, I'm serious professional. I show up, I do my job, and,
That's all right.
so
Tell them, hey,
that's what you got to do.
vote for Pedro.
Yeah. Pedro does his job. Damn it.
All right. Well, I am going to wrap this up. I'm going to tell you, thank you. You can stay on for a sec after I close out.
All right.
Thank you guys, everybody, for watching. We're going to thank Patrick for coming on. Goodbye, everybody. Till next time.
Bye.